Welcome to this explainer. Usually when we talk about artificial intelligence, we tend to think of it as a creator, right? Like a text generator turning out essays, or an image generator making digital art. But today, we're completely flipping the script. We're going to look at AI from a totally different angle. AI as a universal decoder ring. We're exploring how machine learning is actively being used right now to unlock some of the deepest, most utterly inaccessible mysteries of our entire world.
So let's kick things off with a slightly provocative question. What if AI's greatest superpower isn't actually writing, but reading? See, machine learning networks have this absolutely incredible ability to spot patterns in massive, chaotic datasets. By finding tiny signals in what just looks like absolute noise to us, AI isn't just generating text. It is quite literally reading the hidden fabric of reality.
Here is the roadmap for our explainer today. We're going to tackle 4 seemingly impossible mysteries: reading carbonized ancient ash, translating the whale alphabet, visualizing your inner thoughts, and finally solving biology's oldest mystery. All right, let's jump right in. Mystery number 1, reading carbonized ancient ash, also known as the Vesuvius Scrolls. Picture this, it's 79 CE, and the catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius flash fries an entire library of classical philosophy scrolls into these unopenable, rock-hard lumps of charcoal. For 2,000 years, any physical attempt to unroll them just caused them to crumble straight into dust. It was a lost cause. But the breakthrough here is something called virtual unwrapping. By taking high-resolution 3D CT scans, literally using X-ray beams from a particle accelerator, researchers can map the internal structure of the scroll. Then, custom software mathematically flattens the warped 3D spiral layers of the papyrus into a flat 2D sheet on a computer screen. And they do all of this without ever physically touching the artifact. So, step 1, the software traces those twisted 3D layers, and step 2, it flattens them into a 2D sheet. But here is the truly wild part. The ancient Greeks used carbon-based ink, and guess what? On an X-ray, carbon ink on carbon paper is completely invisible. It just doesn't show up. So researchers trained convolutional neural networks to scan the flattened sheets pixel by pixel. They weren't looking for color, they were scanning for microscopic thicknesses and tiny, almost invisible crackle patterns left behind when that wet ink originally dried centuries ago. And it actually worked. By aggregating all those tiny ink predictions, ancient Greek letters emerged from the void. For the very first time in millennia, scientists read the lost Epicurean philosophy of scroll PH 1667 from beginning to end. Just think about that. We recovered a voice from the ancient world, talking about ethics and happiness, pulled entirely from a lump of coal. Moving right along to mystery number 2, translating the whale alphabet and the wild frontier of interspecies communication. So, diving into the deep ocean now, sperm whales actually have the largest brains on Earth. They communicate across thousands of miles using these rapid patterns of clicking sounds called codas. But how on earth do you translate an alien language when you don't have a Rosetta Stone? Well, you use semantic geometry. When modern AI converts words into mathematical vectors based on how they relate to other concepts, a sort of 3D shape emerges. Concepts like family or food cluster together in that space. Because totally different human languages share similar conceptual shapes, AI can align those shapes to translate without needing a dictionary at all. Now, organizations like the Earth Species Project are trying to map animal vocalizations into these exact same geometric shapes. And just like human language, researchers at Project SETI discovered that whales manipulate their clicks using some absolutely incredible acoustic variations. They use rhythm and tempo, but amazingly they also use something called rubato, meaning they deliberately speed up or slow down their clicks for expression. They even use ornamentation, like adding an extra click at the very end of a coda that acts kind of like a suffix or punctuation mark. For decades, scientists thought these were just simple animal name tags. AI proved it's a structural grammar. By analyzing all these intricate acoustic variables, the AI models discovered 156 distinct structured codas. 156. And the AI got so unbelievably good at understanding this underlying structure that it could actually predict what a whale was going to say next with 99% accuracy. I mean, this isn't just random ocean noise. It's a phonetic alphabet. But of course, to gather this kind of pristine data in the wild, you have to solve the cocktail party problem. Animals don't exactly speak one at a time into isolated studio microphones, right? They talk in loud, dense, overlapping pods. But self-supervised machine learning models can now isolate a single animal's vocal signature from a totally chaotic wall of sound. This lets researchers track individual conversations instead of just recording a blur of ocean noise, feeding beautifully clean data right into their translation networks. All right, mystery number 3, visualizing your inner thoughts through decoding non-invasive fMRI scans. Now we're turning the lens inward. AI is actively bypassing the physical limits of the human skull. Historically, if you wanted to read brain signals, it required highly invasive surgical implants. But look at the stark contrast between these two incredible 2023 breakthroughs using non-invasive fMRI brain scans. UT Austin used a large language model, specifically GPT-1, to turn blood flow patterns into a continuous stream of text. Meanwhile, Osaka University used Stable Diffusion, the exact same open-source AI image generator you might have played with on your laptop, to reconstruct photorealistic images of what a person was actively looking at. Now, the big hurdle here is that fMRI measures blood oxygenation, which lags a massive 10 seconds behind your actual neural activity. To get around this, the AI maps specific parts of your visual cortex directly to the latent space of the image generator. So the lower occipital lobe, which processes raw shapes and layouts, links right to the visual layout vector Z. And the upper temporal lobe, which handles the actual meaning, like knowing you're looking at a clock tower, links to the semantic tags in vector C. The AI is essentially denoising your brain static to rebuild the image from scratch. And the text decoder works in a really similar way. It's capturing the semantic gist of the thought, rather than giving you a perfect word-for-word transcript. For example, when the subject heard, "I don't have my driver's lessons yet," the AI output was, "She has not even started to learn to drive yet." Hit the nail on the head, just with different words. And hey, if you're panicking about mental privacy right now, don't worry. The system requires hours of personal calibration, and you can completely jam the decoder just by doing simple mental math to distract yourself. And finally, mystery number 4. Solving biology's oldest mystery, the protein folding code. For this one, we're going microscopic to the very building blocks of life. Proteins orchestrate pretty much everything in our bodies, from digesting food to immune responses. But for a protein to actually function, a one-dimensional string of amino acids has to fold into a highly specific three-dimensional shape. It's kind of like trying to perfectly fold a wildly complex, tangled pair of headphones. For 50 grueling years, scientists were completely stumped by this process. Predicting just one single protein's 3D structure was this experimentally massive task that took years and cost up to $1 million. That was until Google DeepMind introduced AlphaFold 2, a system that predicted these shapes in mere seconds. It was such a game changer, it earned its creators the 2024 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. So how did they do it? Well, AlphaFold basically uses a brilliant evolutionary cheat code. First, through multiple sequence alignment, it looks for amino acids that tend to mutate together across different species. That is a massive statistical clue that those pieces physically touch each other. Second, a neural network called the evoformer guarantees that these spatial distances respect actual physical boundaries in space. And lastly, the structure module translates all of that abstract math into exact 3D coordinate points for every single atom. But the real secret sauce in that final step is a specialized mechanism called invariant point attention, or IPA. It treats each amino acid as a rigid, free-floating body in space. Because the underlying math works regardless of the orientation, the AI doesn't get confused by the protein's angle on the virtual canvas. It just flawlessly stitches the backbone and sidechains together, like some kind of high-tech molecular origami. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to really ponder. We've just seen how AI can unroll carbonized ash, discover the geometry of animal languages, paint pictures straight from our blood flow, and solve a 50-year-old biological puzzle. Now that humanity actually possesses the tools to read the hidden patterns embedded in the fabric of reality, what unreadable mysteries will be unlocked next? The universe is absolutely full of encrypted data, just waiting for the ultimate decoder ring. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking out the structure and the noise.